Off the coast of Colombia, beneath the rolling black surf, a war is unfolding. Unseen, unspoken, and ruthlessly precise. American warships stalk smuggling corridors with heat sensors and aerial drones, chasing shadows that slip through sonar nets. But these aren't battles fought with fleets and flags. This is a silent hunt, where seconds decide everything, and a single missed ping means the target disappears forever. And on this night, something new breaks the surface.
While most people go about their daily lives unaware, a quiet war is being fought offshore, one that rarely makes headlines. The U.S. Navy is locked in a high-stakes cat-and-mouse game against drug cartels using custom-built submarines packed with cocaine, moving undetected beneath the waves. These narco subs aren't the stuff of fiction. They're real, stealthy, and hard to track, running deep below the surface, far out of radar range. Each vessel can haul hundreds of millions of dollars worth of cocaine in a single trip, funding violent cartels across Latin America. Unlike conventional busts on speedboats, these missions are silent and surgical. Navy warships, armed with machine guns and guided by cutting-edge surveillance, chase shadows beneath the sea. Yet, you won't see these operations on the evening news. Why? Because this is a fight that's meant to stay in the dark. But what happens when the cartels get desperate? When the ocean is no longer safe? That's when the Navy hits hard. Not with speeches, with force. This is the story of how America's silent fleet takes the war on drugs to the depths, and why it's working. We usually think of drugs as something tied to the streets, to gangs. But when it starts moving through submarines deep beneath the ocean, what do you think is really happening to our world? I'd really love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Drug subs don't just pop up overnight. Back in the 1980s, Colombian cartels started small, dragging homemade underwater tubes behind fishing boats. Clever, but not clever enough. The military caught on fast, so the smugglers leveled up. By the 1990s, the game had changed. Cartels were building self-propelled narco subs, not steel Navy models, but hand-built vessels hidden deep in the Colombian jungle. They weren't put together in shipyards, but in muddy clearings under thick canopy, crafted from fiberglass and wood to avoid radar and satellite eyes. Out of sight, but deadly effective. Today's drug subs are engineering beasts, even if built by people without formal training. They're typically 80 feet long, can run 2,500 miles without refueling, and carry up to 10 tons of cocaine. They travel low, slow, and nearly invisible beneath the surface. Inside, 5 crew members, crammed into sweltering, airless compartments with little more than basic gear. Each sub costs $1 to $2 million to build, but can haul over $150 million worth of product. That kind of return makes the risk worth it, and that's why these ghost ships are still out there, slipping past the line, fueling one of the most profitable and dangerous black markets on the planet. Today's drug subs aren't just vessels. They're stealth machines designed to disappear beneath the waves. Painted in ocean-blending shades of gray-blue and shaped to cut through water with minimal disturbance, they're nearly invisible to the naked eye and standard radar. Some even feature lead lining to reduce heat signatures, making them harder to spot with thermal imaging from surveillance aircraft. But what makes them truly dangerous isn't just how hard they are to find, it's how fast they can vanish. These subs are built with scuttling valves that flood the vessel in minutes if law enforcement gets too close, sending both the sub and its cargo straight to the ocean floor, often thousands of feet deep, where recovery is next to impossible. In 2024, Operation Orion revealed just how far this technology had come. One sub was intercepted en route to Australia, having traveled more than 10,000 miles across the Pacific. That wasn't just a drug run, it was proof of a new global smuggling corridor and long-range capability. This is a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. Every time drug traffickers step up their engineering, military and law enforcement teams counter with smarter detection tools. Today, that includes thermal imaging, AI-powered pattern recognition, and drones capable of spotting even the faintest wake or heat trail. For every drug sub the Coast Guard manages to stop, intelligence analysts believe 3 or 4 more slip through, hauling millions in illegal cargo and keeping a global trafficking empire alive. So, how do you stop a vessel that's built to vanish? That question sparked one of the largest counter-narcotics operations ever launched. Operation Martillo, Spanish for hammer. And that name wasn't just for show. It marked the moment the world decided enough was enough. Back in January 2012, with cartels growing too powerful for any single country to handle alone, 14 nations, including the US, UK, France, Spain, Guatemala, and Honduras, joined forces. It wasn't just another drug war initiative. This was a united front. Martillo's focus was sharp. Cut off the drug routes where they hurt the cartels the most, at sea. Warships, surveillance planes, and elite interdiction teams began patrolling the waters between South and North America. Together, they built a formidable barrier, making it harder and riskier than ever for smugglers to move their product by water. The results came fast, and they were big. In just the first year, authorities arrested 339 traffickers and seized 101 drug-running vessels. Back in 2011, the operation intercepted 119 tons of cocaine, worth an estimated $2.35 billion on U.S. streets. They also confiscated $21 million in cartel cash and another $16 million in assets used to hide or move drugs. But Operation Martillo was just the beginning. By the end of 2024, the global effort leveled up with Operation Orion, a multinational strike on a scale never seen before. This time, 62 nations joined forces. From tiny coastal countries to naval heavyweights, everyone had a role. Over 6 high-pressure weeks, these countries shared real-time intel, tracked suspicious vessels, and intercepted shipments across the world's oceans. Nothing in the war on drugs had ever matched what Orion pulled off. In a single sweep, they captured 225 tons of cocaine, a world record. Add in more than 1,000 tons of marijuana and other narcotics, and the total street value soared past $8.5 billion. What made Operation Orion truly revolutionary wasn't just how many nations joined in. It was how seamlessly they worked together. The US brought cutting-edge radar systems capable of spotting small boats from space. The Dutch sent underwater drones to inspect vessels below the surface. Colombian forces used their jungle warfare expertise to pinpoint hidden launch sites deep in the rainforest. Even landlocked countries joined the fight, tracking drug money and intercepting digital communications. But the real game-changer was coordination. Military commanders from different nations sat side by side in real-time command centers, sharing intel instantly and launching synchronized raids across multiple time zones. Whenever traffickers tried to reroute after hearing about a bust, they'd sail straight into another country's patrol zone. No escape, no second chances. Every bust at sea doesn't just pull drugs off the streets. It opens a window into the inner workings of powerful cartels. Each captured crew member, boat, and radio system adds another layer of intelligence, helping authorities map trafficking routes with greater precision and identify key players. With each takedown, smuggling routes become clearer, and the cartel's contact lists grow longer. As the drug supply tightens, street prices for cocaine in the US climb, a sign that the pressure is working. The message couldn't be clearer. The open ocean is no longer a safe zone for traffickers, no matter how advanced their tactics or equipment may be. With more nations working together, drug cartels have had to step up their game. But what kind of high-tech tools are they turning to now? These traffickers aren't just using old fishing boats anymore. They've built an entire shadow fleet, a rogue navy that rivals the capabilities of some national forces. At the heart of this criminal flotilla are 2 very different but equally dangerous vessels: lightning-fast, go-fast boats and stealthy drug submarines. Together, they've turned the drug war at sea into a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. In the drug trafficking world, go-fast boats are the workhorses of the trade. These sleek, 30-foot vessels are powered by 3 or 4 massive outboard engines, each pushing out 250 horsepower. It's basically like strapping high-performance car engines onto the back of a fishing skiff. The result? Blistering speeds over 80 miles per hour, fast enough to leave most law enforcement vessels in their wake. They ride low in the water, often painted ocean blue to blend in, making them hard to spot and even harder to catch. There's usually just one pilot on board, no crew, no clutter. That space is reserved for extra fuel and payload. With up to 2,000 gallons of fuel on board, These boats can cover more than 500 miles without stopping. That's more than enough to make the run from Colombia to Jamaica, or from the Bahamas to the shores of Florida, without raising a single flag. Back in the 1920s and 30s, during Prohibition, they were the ride of choice for rum runners smuggling alcohol along the U.S. coastline. Designed to outrun Coast Guard ships, these sleek speedboats became legends of the black market. Fast forward to today, and modern drug traffickers have simply upgraded the concept. Same goal, new tech, and a much more lucrative cargo. But the Coast Guard came prepared. Enter HITRON, the Helicopter Interdiction Tactical Squadron. These elite units don't chase go-fast boats. They hunt them from the sky. Flying MH-65D Dolphin helicopters armed with machine guns and .50 caliber sniper rifles. HITRON crews hover overhead, shouting commands through loudspeakers. If the smugglers ignore the warning, the sniper takes out the engines with surgical precision, ending the chase in seconds. No casualties, no escape, just a busted boat and a failed mission. These drug cartel tactics have gotten so advanced, they now hide their high-speed boats right out in the open. Instead of sneaking around, they disguise them as ordinary fishing vessels, rigged with fake gear or fitted with hidden compartments below the waterline to stash bricks of cocaine. From the outside, they look harmless, but inside, they're smuggling machines. Some cartels have taken it even further, building hybrid boats that combine the speed of a go-fast with the stealth of a submarine. Known as low-profile vessels, these crafts ride barely above the surface, with only the smallest silhouette visible to the naked eye. They're painted ocean blue, built from radar-evading materials, and shaped to blend into the sea. They may not be as fast, topping out around 30 miles per hour, but what they lack in speed, they make up for in invisibility. Spotting them from the sky? Nearly impossible. Drug cartels thought they had the upper hand, using high-speed boats skimming across the surface and stealthy subs creeping below. It was a two-pronged approach that kept law enforcement guessing where the next shipment might come from. But they didn't count on America's secret weapon at sea. How can one ship cost drug lords $500 million? In early 2025, a single vessel sent shockwaves through cartel networks across South America. The USCGC James, a Legend-class cutter from the United States Coast Guard, became the nightmare no trafficker could outrun. For 112 relentless days, it hunted smugglers with quiet precision, and cartel bosses were whispering its name in fear. This wasn't just another patrol boat. At 418 feet long, the James is more like a floating fortress, designed for one mission: to chase down and dismantle drug routes on the high seas. On board were 150 highly trained men and women, working in shifts around the clock. With the capability to stay at sea for months without returning to port, the James became the ultimate predator, constantly moving, constantly watching, and always ready to strike. What made the 2025 mission truly stand out wasn't just the scale, it was the impact. In less than 4 months, one single ship managed to seize over 48,000 pounds of narcotics, enough to supply a mid-sized American city for an entire year. Street value? Roughly $510 million. That made it one of the most financially devastating hits to cartel operations in recent memory. On January 5th, the crew deployed a specialized maritime drone off the coast of Ecuador. Unlike standard military UAVs, this one could stay airborne for up to 18 hours straight, scanning the ocean with high-powered cameras capable of reading ship names from miles away. The drone quietly shadowed a suspicious vessel from above, silent, unnoticed, until the timing was right. Then, the boarding teams made their move. 3 traffickers were captured on the spot, along with a haul of more than 2,250 pounds of cocaine that would never make it to U.S. streets. January 6th turned into a jackpot. While on patrol, a maritime surveillance plane working with the USCGC James spotted something unusual: 3 go-fast boats moving in tandem, a bold and risky move for smugglers. The response was swift and surgical. Using its onboard helicopters, the crew executed a perfectly coordinated intercept, stopping all 3 vessels, arresting 9 suspects, and seizing nearly 14,000 pounds of cocaine. The very next day, January 7th, the traffickers changed tactics. This time, they deployed a low-profile vessel, built specifically to slip past radar. But the Hitron helicopter team was ready. With precision rifle shots, they disabled the boat's engine without harming the crew. Another 8,240 pounds of cocaine was stopped cold before it ever reached U.S. shores. Then, on January 18th, when smugglers tried to dump their cargo and flee, Cutter James stayed locked in. High-speed pursuit boats chased down the traffickers, while other crew members retrieved bales of cocaine floating in open water. Nearly 6,000 pounds were recovered, drugs that would have brought millions in profit to the cartels. The U.S. Navy isn't sitting this one out. Ships like the USS Minneapolis-St. Paul and USS St. Louis have launched their own drug-busting missions across the Caribbean, adding hundreds of kilos of seized cocaine to the growing tally. Their impact has been anything but subtle, putting heavy pressure on major cartels like Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation. But these operations do more than take drugs off the water. They collect intel. Lots of it. Each bust reveals smuggling routes, exposes cartel members, and uncovers new trafficking tactics. That data now drives future raids, building smarter missions designed to take these crime empires apart piece by piece. Still, behind every successful drug seizure, there's someone pulling the strings. So who's really calling the shots in this billion-dollar cat-and-mouse game? In Key West, Florida, there's a building that looks ordinary from the outside. But inside, it houses one of the most powerful drug-fighting teams on Earth. Welcome to JIATF South, the Joint Interagency Task Force South, where some of America's brightest military minds and law enforcement experts run what may be the world's most effective counter-narcotics operation. This is the hub where dozens of nations and agencies come together to target drug traffickers. Think of it as mission control, a high-tech center where satellite images, radar data, ship movements, and classified intelligence are all fused into one live tracking system to hunt down smugglers across the ocean. This isn't just a command post. It's the nerve center of a global war on drugs, one that's getting sharper, faster, and more connected every day. What really sets JIATF South apart isn't just the tech, it's the people. This is where professionals who rarely work side by side come together under one roof. Picture a room where FBI agents sit next to Navy officers, where Defense Department tech experts coordinate with Coast Guard commanders. Even CIA analysts trade intel directly with customs officials. It's a collaboration you don't see anywhere else. And it's not just Americans. Allies from across the globe join in, giving the team a full-spectrum view of drug trafficking, not just a narrow slice of it. The command center itself looks like something out of a Hollywood thriller. A massive operations room lit by wall-to-wall screens showing real-time maps of the Caribbean and Pacific. Every moving dot represents a ship, a plane, or even a submarine under watch. Trained analysts scan those screens 24/7, searching for patterns and anomalies. Slight course changes, dropped signals, anything out of place. Because one flicker on the radar might just lead to millions of dollars in illegal cargo. When JIATF South spots something suspicious, they don't wait around for permission. They move, fast. With direct control over ships, aircraft, and helicopters already on standby, they strike before traffickers even know they've been spotted. Because in this game, a few minutes is the difference between a bust and a vanishing act. One of JIATF's secret weapons? The LEDET teams, Coast Guard law enforcement detachments. Small, elite, and highly trained, these units ride aboard Navy warships, turning them into floating drug-busting machines. When a destroyer tracks a suspect vessel, it's LEDET that boards, searches, and makes the arrest. Here's the twist. The military can't legally detain drug traffickers at sea. Coast Guard officers can. That's the legal ace in the hole. It's a partnership that works. The Navy brings the muscle and the cutting-edge tech, like USS Gravely in Burlington, whose radars can pick up a speedboat from over 100 miles away. Meanwhile, the Coast Guard brings the law and the skill to get hands-on when it matters most. But JIATF South doesn't just react, they predict. Using powerful computers and years of smuggling data, they generate heat maps showing where traffickers are most likely to run their routes. This lets them position ships and planes in the right spot, days before a drug boat even leaves the shore. The command center has become so effective that drug cartels are now putting bounties on anyone who can reveal how it works. That's how seriously they take the threat. But JATF South isn't standing still. It's constantly evolving, staying one move ahead in a high-stakes chess match against some of the most dangerous criminal networks on the planet. If the command center is the brain of this operation, the real question is, what's happening out on the streets? Where are these drug networks growing now, decades after Miami's darkest days? Back in the 1980s, Miami was ground zero for cocaine entering the United States. It was everywhere, flooding into nightclubs, highways, even high-end neighborhoods. Smugglers ran wild, and cash poured in so fast that banks couldn't count it quickly enough. It wasn't just a drug trade, it was a flashy, lawless empire. But the glow of that neon era has long since faded. What's left behind is a drug business that never died. It just got smarter, quieter, and far more calculated. Today's cocaine trade doesn't run through one giant cartel pulling all the strings. Instead, it's a loose alliance of smaller, specialized groups, each playing a role like pieces of a well-organized puzzle. Some grow and process the coca plants in South America. Others handle the maritime transport, often hiding the drugs inside fishing vessels or everyday shipping containers. Further down the line, crews in Europe or Oceania manage local distribution and street-level sales. What's really changed the game is technology. Traffickers now use encrypted phones, GPS trackers, and even drones to scout routes and monitor shipments. Some boats are designed to be nearly invisible to radar. Others are disguised as innocent fishing boats, or buried deep within legitimate cargo. But the ocean remains their highway of choice. A massive portion of cocaine destined for the US still travels by sea, especially along routes hugging Central America's coastline. These waters are long, lawless, and full of options. Smugglers might swap boats mid-journey or dump their payload at the first sign of trouble. Some even rely on homemade submarines, called narco subs, to quietly move tons of product beneath the surface. These drug subs aren't urban legends. They're real, and they're dangerous. Packed with cocaine and manned by trained crews, they skim just below the ocean's surface, making them nearly invisible. It's not just a cat-and-mouse game, it's high-stakes hide-and-seek. To stay ahead, U.S. forces like the Coast Guard and Navy have stepped up their game. Patrol planes scan the skies, warships use radar and sonar to comb the seas, and intelligence teams track suspicious routes in real time, ready to pounce at a moment's notice. This is a relentless chase, and it never stays the same for long. Drug traffickers adapt quickly. If one route gets too hot, they switch to another. If a tactic fails, they invent a new one. It's no longer just about speed. It's about staying one move ahead. Miami's wild days in the 80s might look like a crime movie now, but today's drug networks are quieter, smarter, and more global than ever. Still, the mission hasn't changed. Move the product, make the money, and don't get caught. The war's far from over, and both sides are watching, waiting, and ready to strike. One like, one subscribe, and you'll always have a front row seat for the next mission. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell if you want to stay tuned for what's coming next.